Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, classic/non-classic. This is episode number 527 and Doubleshot number 430. I believe it's 35. Yeah, 35. All right. Two trades, one from Marvel, the other one from Dark Horse. First up is the final trade that collects issues from the series, Superior Spider-Man, Volume 6, Goblin Nation, which collects 2731 and number 2, written by Dan Slott and Chris Gage, with artwork by Gustapi Kamakali, Javier Rodriguez, Philip Browns, and Will Seeley, who was the artist of Spider-Man 2099. As a matter of fact, I think he drew almost all the issues that came out from 2014 up until 2017. Yeah, as the title suggests, Goblin Nation. This is pretty much the end of the Spider-Man 29, the Spirit Spider-Man series for 4 months, because it came back 4 months later for a couple issues as part of Spider-Verse. Yep, 4 months later the series came back, but it was only just for a couple extra issues. Yeah, so pretty much everything that's been pretty much now the whole Goblin thing. This has been building up since issue 3. Was it 3? Yeah. Since issue 3, this has been building up. So, after all this time sitting on this for a long time, Slott has a reputation for doing this, where he sits on a potential good storyline for a long time. I gotta say, this storyline is really good, and it does wrap up pretty much mostly everything related to the series, though there is a couple things to continue for at least for a few years. One, of course, is Parker Industries. That continues until 2017, when the company is shut down. Anna Marie breaks up with Peter. Pretty much the relationship was over by the time Peter takes over his mind, takes his body back again. And oh yeah, and Sonny Jeffries is written out of the series with the start of Volume 4. Yep. Basically, 2 years, at least a little over a year after the series ended, Sonny Jeffries is written out of the series and never heard from again. Nope, she is never heard from again. Yeah, because Peter bought her shares and she disappeared and she never appeared again. Heck, not even Nora Winters appears again. Yeah, she completely disappeared. Yeah, thanks to this series, she was dropped from the Spider-Man cast and she never appeared again. And she's not the only one. Carly Cooper, who had been turned into a creatureless monster, she gets cured thanks to the annual, which I'm not sure. Maybe Chris, and this is something I think a lot of people may have complained about this, but I thought that Carly was completely cured. The way it looked by the annual's end, it definitely did look like she was completely cured, but for some reason, I don't know why, apparently not everything was cured. Apparently around her eyes. I mean, did Slott ignore something that Chris Gage set up? Yeah, it's really bizarre. Chris Gage wrote the annual. Yep. But of course, I do mention stuff that happened in Spirit Spider-Man Team Up in issue 10. I forgot to mention this in, I think when I reviewed Volume 2, where Thor mentioned something that happened in the pages of Avenging Spider-Man issue 18, where he teamed with him to take the Takedown Return Electro. So, read more of Superior Spider-Man, you gotta read Superior Spider-Man Team Up and a few other books. Yep. Mostly, yeah. This is probably the only time I can think of where Norman Osborn's written to be pretty interesting. Hey, he does some original stuff, like give himself a plastic surgery. I like his most recent return, where it was just plain awful. This was actually pretty good. I mean, the Goblin Nation was interesting, though this was running around in Marvel Comics for at least 2 years before Robbie Thompson had to wrap this up in pages of Silk. Yeah, it took Silk to take down the remains of Goblin Nation, the Goblin Underground. Yeah, so it took 2 years to take down this organization. Yeah, and this is wrapped up in the first arc of Silk, the second volume for Silk, when they finally wrapped up this loose thread that Dan Slott left hanging by the time the series ended. Because by the time the series ended, what was accomplished? Well, the Goblin Nation was stopped. Norman Osborn got away, though he disappeared for like, how long did he disappear for? He disappeared for like a year, came back in a cameo I think it was 2 years later he came back. It was the following year he came back. He got himself plastic surgery. We don't know what his face looks like. We wouldn't find out for 2 years to figure out what his face looks like, and it's butt ugly. Yeah. And he gets away again. He does not get captured, he just gets away. Also, apparently 31 was a metaphor for how many memories that Peter Parker had left, that Otto Octavius left in Peter Parker's head. Though Peter Parker does as Spider-Man does the famous script like, yeah, you're left without your man purse. This is the Goblin. He says, it's you! Because he knows that is the real Spider-Man. Yep. But then basically this, the dialogue Dan Slott gives Mary Jane Watson is what really, from what I've heard, it really ticked a lot of people off. Apparently, this storyline basically said, I've had enough. After over 20 years of being involved with Spider-Man, she just like, I give up. Seriously? After being taken with Venom, Spider Island, all this other stuff, this is what broke the camel's back? Seriously? I mean, it's almost kind of like at this point in time, probably the editor-in-chief at Marvel just really wanted to keep Mary Jane away from Peter Parker and keep Peter Parker nice and single and lonely. Yeah. But yeah, this storyline is amazing. Despite the whole thing with Mary Jane, it did end the whole tension of J. Jonah Jameson being the mayor of New York, which at this point in time, he only been a mayor for, I think, about 4 years. No, he had been mayor for 5 years publication time. Yeah, it started back in 2009, just prior to Dark Reign. Yeah, he got elected at the end of 24/7 arc, and this storyline ended his tenure as mayor. After 5 years, he resigns, and he works for Fact Channel, and I think he still works this very day. Yep. But despite that, this is good. I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. I mean, it does lead into two things, the ending of this particular series. It does lead into the relaunch of Amazing Spider-Man. It leads to Spider-Man 2099. Yep. But in the case, yeah, and that's pretty much it. Yep. So, 9 out of 10. Alright, next up is a series I've never reviewed before, so here we go. The Chronicles of Conan, Volume 30, which collects issues from the classic Conan the Barbarian series that was started from 1975 to about 1995. Yeah, it lasted like a little over 20 years. It lasted for over how many issues published? 275, and had like a dozen annuals. This book collects issues 233 to 240. This book just features the adventures of a young Conan, where at one point he dies, gets framed for murder, bunch of stuff happens, and also I got to point out though that this cover is done by Mike Mignola. Yep, I mean it makes sense that he would do the cover for the trade as well, for a couple of the covers, because he works for Dark Horse, so why not? Though Dark Horse did lose the license to Conan the Barbarian, I think just this year. Yep, and Conan's published by Marvel. Go back to Marvel soon. The writing here is done by Michael Higgins and Justin Arthur, with artwork by Rob Lem, Gary Hartle, and Rodney Ramos. Yeah, that is pretty much who does the writing artwork. Technically, this book is called Death of Conan and Other Stories. Yeah, he's briefly dead for like one issue, then he gets resurrected. Now, I read this, I was a little confused because I was reading like much more ahead than I was before, because I was at like 52, and this is like over 200 issues later. Yeah, he's wearing completely different attire. I mean, this is what Conan looks like. I mean, I've never seen wear that armor before, or the helmet, or anything else. Now, as far as I can tell, Dark Horse did finish collecting this. Now, this trade came roughly 2 years ago, and they did finish collecting it. It took them like 34 volumes, but yeah, they did finish collecting this entire series. It took them long enough, but yeah, they did finish collecting it. But not much else to say. Otherwise, though, Conan is amazing when published by Marvel. And it's basically published by Dark Horse as well, though Marvel's going to get back publishing again, though. I'm still curious. Okay, Star Wars makes sense because Disney owns Lucasfilm. Fine. But why Conan? Seriously, why Conan? Is what did Dark Horse run out of stories? Did the license run out after 18 years publication? No idea. I have absolutely no idea why Marvel got back the license for. Yeah, it still bugs me. I think a lot of people are still questioning, like, why did Marvel get back this license for? Star Wars makes sense. This, not really sure. But despite that, the issues here are pretty good, despite the fact being awkward, being to the young adventures of Conan. And the thing says next, Red Sonja, which he does show up. Yeah, matter of fact, Red Sonja made her first comic appearance in the issue of Conan. I think it was issue 25. Yeah, that was the first appearance, and she's a creation of Roy Thomas, who does own the rights to the character, and it's licensed to Dynamite right now, which they still own the rights to Red Sonja, and I haven't heard anything about Marvel getting back rights to that character, but in the case of Conan, maybe they can finish collecting the run. I don't know. I mean, Dark Horse managed to finish collecting the run. I mean, also as far as I can tell, the only time Conan did appear that was not in his own time was an issue of What If. Yeah, he never appeared in an issue of Marvel Team Up. He pretty much never appeared outside of his own stories. That's simply the way he is. He never teamed with any Marvel superheroes per se. But yeah, this takes place in the past. That's basically what it is. But I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. The stories here are pretty good, just not much else to say about it. It's just that, well, classic Conan. Alright, so that's it for this episode. Not much else to say about this one. But next one, I'm going to have 2 more trades. I'll cover volumes 31 and 32 of Conan the Barbarian, of the Chronicles of Conan, which collects more issues of Conan the Barbarian series. Which Dark Horse, they published their own series called Series of the Same Name, but it lasted about 25 issues. Didn't last so long. The last series they published, excuse me, that was a solo series, Conan the Slayer, and that lasted for 12 issues. Right now, the final issue of Wonder Woman Conan has come out this month, and that's not by Gail Simone. I'm looking forward to that. But as far as I've heard, that is the last Conan book published by Dark Horse. Yeah, that's going to be the last one, which is surprising. I would have thought maybe they would have squeezed out one more series, but my guess they lost license. I can't do very much anything else with it. Alright? So, until we see you in the next video. Bye.